Hey, welcome back to Visions Now Supper Club. All views expressed for their educational and journalistic purposes, they are not the views of the management, advertisers, nor staff of 92.1 FM. However, Visions does desire to bring a quality entertainment program which intellectually stimulates and culturally fulfills our community's needs to develop leadership and informed decision-making for our collective future. Welcome to the village, often imitated, but never duplicated. I'm Dr. Jaylene Hood, your host and executive producer. Welcome.
I wanted to say that Mrs. Roper, Charlotte, I've met many families whose ancestors were enslaved by my family. I've apologized only to one of those families because I don't think that words are enough. I don't think they answer for the wound. They're like a Band-Aid on the wound. Still, I want to say that I'm sorry for the suffering that my family caused your family so many years ago and for such a long time. And in saying that, I know that we haven't reached the end of the journey. We haven't even come to the middle, but we might have just put our feet up on the path and taken the first small steps toward understanding. I ask your forgiveness. I wanted to say that Mrs. Roper,
most beautiful woman. She's loving, she's caring, she's nurturing. But how valuable is she to you? And the truth is, if she's available to other men, if she's not loyal to you, she's of no value to you in a romantic relationship. Because without that one trait, you will never have the peace of mind to go out and create a better reality for her. You will lack the motivation to dig deeper and build something for her, because you will become a man mentally divided by the constant thought of what is she doing. You cannot lead a woman who is not loyal to you. Let me repeat that. You cannot lead someone who is not loyal to you. So a large amount of that decision of should I enter a romantic relationship should rest on loyalty. Look at her history of loyalty. Look at her past. Study the way she thinks. Listen to her healing journey right now. Watch what she posts. Look at her friends, her immediate influences around her. In this day and age, the importance of picking the right person to marry cannot be understated. So you should take a step back as often as possible. Take off the rose-colored glasses. Look at it as if you are advising your little brother or your son. What should you do in this situation? Because I see too many men blinded by sex, blinded by the way a woman looks. But you forget arguably the most important quality for a woman to have in a relationship, which is her loyalty. Gentlemen, you can go out and meet them.
Of black people were shot. They were burned and beaten to death. Bodies were hung on the lampposts. It was one of the bloodiest purges in American history.
People carry that memory as trauma. And I think one of the most important things we should do is to understand that when people don't want to tell stories, it's not because they want to forget it. It's because they don't want to relive it. Those are two very different things.
Despite what recent reports may have you believe, it was the white people who were rioting. St. Louis was becoming what they call a sundown town, which meant you don't want to be here when the sun goes down. On July 2nd, 1917, a mob of white women, men, and children Yes, children. Destroyed and burned down at least $400,000 worth of property. This property belonged to not only black people, but to white families as well. This purge was so brutal and savage that it drove 6,000 black men and women out of their homes. Such a massacre couldn't have happened out of nowhere. Something must have triggered it, right? On July 1st, a day before it all blew up, a rumor started to spread that a black man killed a white man. Tensions were running high. Well, if you are familiar with American history, you are well aware of how white supremacists went above and beyond to subjugate black people. In many cases, they would frame black people for murder just to get it their way. But this story hits a whole other level of crazy.
White mobs moved into the neighborhoods, firebombed a lot of the houses, and they would stand around the house and wait for somebody to run out so they could shoot and kill them. You were either shot or you were incinerated. If you were caught on the street, you were lynched. They just rampaged up and down the street, destroying what they could. My grandparents' home, where my father and uncles lived at the time, was destroyed. They had to hide out in a nearby field.
This carnage shocked the nation because it happened soon after U.S. forces entered World War I. So you had black troops leaving their families in April to fight for democracy and make the world a safer place. And then in July, you have black families getting butchered on the streets in the most barbaric ways you can possibly imagine. People were clubbed to death. Children were thrown into flaming houses, and their fathers, mothers, brothers, and sisters dangled from a noose. It was a true horror. This is how the Citizen Committee from East St. Louis described the race riot: a very orgy of inhuman butchery during which more than 50 colored men, women, and children were beaten with bludgeons, stoned, shot, drowned, hanged, or burned to death, all without any effective interference on the part of the police, sheriff, or military authorities. This massacre wiped out the black middle class in the area, destroyed many black-owned businesses, and scarred the region for the years to come. Here, you will learn what happened on that fateful day. But first, we have to start from the beginning. At the start of the 20th century, many black Americans migrated from the South to the North and Midwest in search of a better life. The South was worse than you can imagine. There was severe hatred, violence, and racism against black people. Lynchings were common. Beatings and subjugation were widespread. There were 3 bathrooms: men, women, and colored. There were 2 fountains, white and colored. Everything was segregated. White people and black folks couldn't marry, or people would threaten to kill them. A black man wasn't allowed to look like a white man, or a mob would attack him. Black women were often sexually assaulted, but there was nothing they could do about it. But if you think that racism was exclusive to the South, then you would be sadly mistaken. Racism was everywhere, but the North and the Midwest offered better choices for employment and some minor relief from Jim Crow laws. East St. Louis was one of these top destinations. It was here that black people could find work for the railroad, metalworking, and meatpacking companies. It was tedious and hard work, but it put food on the table. The demand for workers in such industries was running high, especially companies that supported the war effort. You see, as the war approached, factories and companies had to produce more ammunition, weapons, and other supplies. Some of these men who lived there left the city to fight in the military. This created a gap and a need for more skilled workers. Good, right? Well, not exactly.
Thinking to start cutting carbs, I need to drop my belly fat.
Businesses in East St. Louis recruited black workers from the rural South to come and work for them. They offered to transport them and give them jobs. They were also promised to settle in a community where other black people were building their own lives and opening up businesses. By the spring of 1917, around 2,000 black people arrived in East St. Louis every week. What followed was a series of incidents that set the motion for one of the bloodiest massacres on American soil. There were a couple of factors that played a role here. 1, cultural. 2, political. 3, economic. Let's start with cultural. During the Industrial Revolution, newspapers were mass-produced. They were the biggest medium and most commonly used means of altering public opinion. You did not have to be incredibly literate to understand what was going on. The newspaper was designed in such a way that everyone read it, talked about it, and was hooked on it. White people who owned the newspapers and magazines in the area made people think that black Americans were causing chaos in the town and frequently assaulted white people. They downplayed crimes done by white people and invented or exaggerated crimes that involved black people. A lot of residents believed in white supremacy in East St. Louis. In many of these cases, white women were seen as pure and targeted by black men. When you let things like these continue to happen day in and day out, eventually it will sow a seed of hatred. So, how do you make things worse? With politics, of course.
You can't get more of a segregationist as a Woodrow Wilson. You can't get more of a hated person or hatred person with hate in their heart than a Woodrow Wilson. He was the bigot of his time. He didn't try to hide his hatred of African Americans or any person of color. He was the person that did, I think, set back African Americans more than any other person except Abraham Lincoln was supposed to free the black folks, but he did more harm to black folks than anybody else in history.
Those at the top believe that black people were brought to East St. Louis to push the Democrats out of office. Look at it this way. When there is an influx of workers that migrate from other areas, the political leaders usually believe that these newcomers will be used in local politics as a strategic move to shift the political power in the city. As more and more black Americans settled, the Democrats felt threatened. That's because black people were beginning to seek representation and influence in the local government and were gaining momentum in challenging the power structure that dominated the area. That's because most of the black Americans at that time supported the Republicans. But if black people were allowed to gain political power and influence, then the Democrats would lose their grip on political control and all the privileges that came with it. So changes had to be made, and fast. The pre-Depression years were extremely good for the people who lived in East St. Louis. The place was booming and many industrialists invested there, especially in steel and iron plants, factories for producing rail equipment, glassworks, and castor oil plants. On top of that, huge industries were planning facilities here for aluminum ore processing, zinc processing, chemicals, you name it. By the early 1890s, it seemed that nothing could stand in the way of East St. Louis and its economy. By 1906, a bunch of rich people invested in opening up their own factories, especially in the automobile industry. This place was so popular that people started calling it the Pittsburgh of the West. Then came the economic problems. Since businesses needed labor, many people from across the United States came here to find work. The city's population went up very quickly. In 1870, about 5,600 people lived here. In 22 years, the number went up to about 25,000. It was the fastest growing city in the US. As people flooded the area from every corner, the demographics of the city changed like never before. Most of the incoming population was either immigrants from the South or Europe. In the city's early days, before the industrial boom, not many black people lived here. But by 1910, 1 out of 10 residents were black. By 1917, more than 10,000 black Americans lived here. But there was a problem. There was a growing middle class of black Americans, and white people despised them. This was at a time when black women and men were also competing with white people for jobs, which only added fuel to the fire. In reality, many of the black people who were employed were bought here for cheap labor. Without white money in businesses, crime rates skyrocketed. Violence and corruption were also high. The St. Louis metropolitan area spans across 2 states. It is separated by the Mississippi River, Illinois and Missouri. The Illinois side was always a poor city, but the downtown was pretty active. Many people had businesses here. As the population became primarily black, it damaged the downtown trade. Soon, the east side was overwhelmed with drugs and gangs. It became a political backwater dominated by crime, corruption, and poverty. Democrats blamed the Republicans for colonizing the city with black people so they could get more votes. The businessmen had no choice but to move their businesses to the Missouri side. They built highways to pass over East St. Louis so it would be safe to go over the area. In 1916, the Democrats won for East St. Louis and St. Clair County. But the concept of colonization became so ingrained in the people's minds that they started seeing it as a conspiracy. White people were becoming more and more afraid of East St. Louis becoming another black town. These fears came to life when employers hired black workers to break a strike by white workers. The goal was to weaken the power of the white union members. Here is what happened. In the spring of 1917, a group of white workforce at the aluminum ore company went on strike. The company hired hundreds of black people to take care of it. On May 28, a meeting at the city council was held. The white workers were furious. They filed formal complaints against the black workers. Then word started to spread that an armed black man attempted to rob a white man. White people lost their minds. They began beating every black person they could find. They went so far as to pull people out of trolleys and streetcars and beat them on the street. The National Guard was called but was dispersed in June. On July 1, a white man with a gun in a Ford shot a couple of black homes. That's when black Americans decided enough was enough.
What are them? Killer, man, killer. Rich but disgust. Lift the burner for the cool. Watch your shoes. Don't step on my shoes. The clocks them fresh out of the fridge in my room. Ice on my neck. What are them? Killer, man, killer. Rich but disgust. Lift the burner for the cool. Watch your shoes. Don't step on my shoes. The clocks them fresh out of the fridge in my room. Ice on my neck.
Good afternoon, family. Good afternoon. I hope everybody's having a good week and a good day so far. I am Julian, the host, co-host, technician for the evening. We got a good show for y'all this afternoon. We got Mrs. Mary Mahone. I'm on this evening along with Dr. Dolores Tarver. But before we get into the show, I got a few current events to discuss. On May 3rd at the F&W Control Tower, we have Afrobeats meets Caribbean music. That's going to be May 3rd at 8 p.m. The admission is $5 at the gate. And again, that's at the 401 Ford Drive, Columbus, Georgia, May 3rd at 8 p.m. Make sure that you get there. Going to be a great time. Also on May 3rd, at the VF&W, we have the First Friday White Party, and that is going to be at the VF&W Control Tower at 1824 Victory Drive, Columbus, Georgia. That's May 3rd at 7 p.m. At the VF&W. The advance tickets are $10, and at the door the tickets will be $15. Make sure you get there as well. Going to be a good time. If you can't make it earlier to the previous event, make sure you get to the second event later on in the evening. Also, I want to inform everybody we have the Invisible Wounds of the Youth, Where Trauma Lingers event happening on May 11th, 2024 from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. The event will be at South Girard School. That is in Phoenix City, Alabama. The address is 521 Fontaine Road, Phoenix City, 36869. Again, that's 521 Fontaine Road, Phoenix City, Alabama, 36869. And the final event we want to talk about is the teen mentoring happening in Columbus with the New Era Coalition. We have an initiative to stop community violence and save our kids' future. The program is going to be for 9 to 15-year-olds, and it will be Tuesday, May the 14th, from 5 to 7 p.m. And the location is at the Muhammad Mosque, number 96, and that is at 1131 Brown Avenue. Again, that is the Muhammad Mosque, number 96, 1131 Brown Avenue. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and introduce the host and the guest for the evening. How y'all doing this evening, Doctor? You doing all right?
All praise due to the Most High.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I thank you. Good job. You're getting better, dude. You're getting
working on it.
Better. This is our mentoring program. Okay, and of course today, as you know, this is our weekly meeting of the New Era Columbus, Georgia Coalition. Every Thursday we have a meeting, and it's a virtual meeting on the radio. And we've had the education ministry, we've had the social justice ministry, we've had the mentoring ministry. And today, I'm not want to be prejudiced, but family preservation is kind of my domain of special interest, because You know, it's kind of like they say what comes first, the chicken or the egg. And I say the egg because the egg dictates what kind of chicken it's gonna be. so in case y'all didn't know, you heard it here that you now know which came first. It was the egg. After the rooster, took care of the egg, then that what made it really come first. When the rooster, fired it up, put the fire in there, right? Put that fire in that egg, right? I mean, it wasn't just an egg no more. Came a chicken or something. It was gonna be something else, but it wasn't gonna be just a regular egg, right? It wasn't gonna be scrambled. That's for sure. No. Might be eating some scrambled egg, but that won't be it. But again, before I introduce our very special guest tonight, of course she's a special guest because this is her first time. But Miss Mary Mahone, who is one of our contact people, coordinators for our family preservation ministry, and she's also a participant in the upcoming event that Dr. Dolores will be talking to us about. So, Miss Mary, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Okay, and yeah, we're gonna bring her out the almost out the bullpen because I mean, out the waiting room. That's right here. No, you're good. Yeah, there you go. There you go. And there she is. So, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Well. So now tell me, how did you connect up here with Dr. Dolores and Tarver and this particular project? How did you first get involved?
Okay, so I am with the Helping Family Initiatives in Russell County, the District Attorney's Office under the Honorable Rick Chancey. And one of his initiatives is to try to get more information and programs to try to decrease gun violence. So I was listening to a streaming program and I heard of you all's town hall meetings.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I started participating in
Yes,
the
you
town
did.
hall meetings. And through those town hall meetings, I connected with Dr. Tarver, and we wanted to participate with her and partner with her to do the youth mental health event.
No doubt about it. And of course, we are. And I've told because I'm over on Seal Road at least every 2 weeks, and I told them that we're coming. We're just trying to get Columbus tightened up, right, Dr. Tarver? We're trying to get the protocols and and all those kind of things, the structure together. So when we come to Phoenix City, we won't have to reinvent the wheel. And so we'd like to certainly thank you because you've been a ride or die sister. You've been here, and I kind of every time I look at it, I see you. So I really appreciate it. That's why I had to elevate her, so to speak, to our strategic planning because she's been there from the beginning. So she got to know what we're trying to do, and therefore people who've come on kind of lately, it's a little bit more difficult because they see what's happening, but this is something new, and I can't emphasize that enough. And whenever something is new, you have to do more listening and looking than talking, because you need to kind of find out. I kind of liken it to a merry-go-round. As a kid, when you're trying to jump on the merry-go-round, you can't just jump on it because going around, you kind of have to kind of get your rhythm, and then the rhythm kind of then you jump. Okay, so it's that same kind of thing about this merry-go-round here that we're talking about, called the New Era Columbus, Georgia Coalition. And so, of course, my first contact with Dr. Dolores, and that's Doe, that's D-O. Hey, I tell people, don't let that you fool you. It's hood, not HUD, okay? I'm with you. I get my feeling too. I say, well, I'm not going to see this person but one time, so I let them go and get it wrong. But I'm going to see you more than one time, I have to correct you. No doubt. So when I saw her, first time I saw her out the window, when she was coming to one of the IMF meetings, IMA's meetings, and Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance meetings, and just looking at the one at the meeting, I mean, I didn't know who she was. I don't know whether or not she was at the wrong address and she had the right address. I didn't know. I didn't know until that she was introduced as our guest for the day, And you were striking there. I can't remember what you had on.
I had on African attire.
Yeah, that's right. I'm still trying to be Africanized. I'm trying to say, I wasn't ready for where she's going. So I mean, I don't know, maybe I missed that location or something, but I would like to meet you. And we talked about what we were proposing to do, and you said you were going to be there, and you were there for the first meeting, and we certainly since that time we've been connected, both virtual or otherwise, and I think that we've been trying to certainly hope that as many people as possible. And again, if you are part of a church or in an organization, at least say one person from that church should try to attend these events. They are here to help strengthen our community. And so I'm not going to go any further, but again, I'd like to welcome and of course, you're now officially a visionary of you and Miss Mary, which means every Thursday you got to be at this meeting. In your car, in your house, wherever you are, you're official now. You are a visionary, okay? And not just a member of New Era Coalition, but you're a visionary member. And that's a special status. So again, tell us a little bit. First of all, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, thanks for
Okay.
asking.
I know you can get a little close personal with that.
Yeah.
It won't bite
Don't
you.
be shy.
Don't be shy. That's right. That's better. That's right. I can hear you better now.
Okay.
Hear you in my ears now. That's right.
All right.
So now, how long you been in Columbus?
I moved to Columbus in 2012.
2012. Okay. That's been about 10 years.
Yeah,
10,
been here about
10
10
12
years.
years. Well, I guess 10,
Mhm.
12 years. Okay. And so where's your birth home? Where do you consider home?
So my birth home is actually Chicago. But I
GD,
none of the above.
Vice Lord,
None of the above.
you're in Chicago. Man, you got
none-
one of the
none of-
neighborhoods there.
I did grow up on the south side of Chicago.
Come on now.
However, I was not involved in any games.
No, but I know your neighborhood. So I lived in Chicago, and I was the Panther, so I could go move around all the area.
You had a little mobility.
Yeah,
I was
me and Fred Hampton, that was my friend and my mentor in the Panther Party.
Okay.
In Chicago. So,
That's
so I
all
know
right.
I know a little bit about the South Side, and
Okay.
because I stayed on the West Side when I
Okay.
was there,
Okay.
because we're right down the street from the Panther Party.
Yeah, but now
Office.
that was just
Uh,
where I
Madison-
was born.
West
I was
Madison.
raised in Mississippi.
Okay, that's now
I
you
was raised in a
tall
little
grass,
town,
tall grass.
called Grenada.
Of course,
Grenada,
yeah.
Mississippi.
Yeah,
So,
Mary Home Junior College and all that kind of stuff down there.
yeah,
with
we
some of
have
that.
Holmes Junior
Yeah.
College. We're right down the street from where Emmett Till was. So,
So you-
so I'm in the thick of it.
You're in the
man.
thick of it.
In the thick of that thing.
You for real, no
Yeah,
doubt about it.
absolutely.
So you know what you know.
I know what I know.
So we're delighted to now. So when you start to matriculate out of Grenada, where'd you go to school?
So I went to Xavier University in
Ah,
New Orleans.
New Orleans, in the boot.
And then for
Mhm.
graduate school, the University of Nebraska, Lincoln. In Lincoln,
Okay,
Nebraska.
okay,
So I
all
went on
right.
back to the Midwest for a little
That's
while.
right. That's right. Good Lord, no
Mhm.
doubt about it. So then, now how do you get from Nebraska to Columbus, Georgia? That's the next part I want to figure out.
Well, I tell you, my first job after I graduated was at the University of Georgia.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
so I was in Athens for 6 years and then wanted to get some more to Columbus.
You came to the right place. Good laboratory.
to work at West Central Georgia
Good,
Regional
good
Hospital.
laboratory.
Yeah,
That's right.
so,
Now you got some good experience. Now
I got some good
Yeah.
experience at West Central.
I
and
know
then
that's
I
right.
Transitioned into my own business.
You ready to go?
private
You ready to go war around now? You got.
I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing.
No doubt about it. Yeah, I tell people, I finished high school in Columbus. And I've been all over the world, and I was ready for the world. And wherever I went, Columbus, Georgia prepared me for it. That's for sure.
That's all right.
And so that's why I came back. I love it, and that's why I'm so, I guess, passionate about the Columbus that I came back to. It's not the Columbus that I left. The Columbus that I left was a very proud community. It wasn't perfect, but you knew that you had a responsibility from the first grade to the 12th grade. I went to Carver High School, and every day they reminded you that you got to get yourself together, go out into the world, get you a good education so you can come back and help your people. Okay, and that stuck with me. That's why I came back. So trying to help our people, and so somewhere along the line, I guess was it at Xavier when you decided you were going to become a DST?
It was not. It was actually at in Lincoln, Nebraska.
In Nebraska,
where-
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a a really wonderful community of Black people.
Oh,
And
well, no, you know the history of that, right? Because
yeah.
a lot of those Black towns were out west. I mean,
Absolutely.
Because we had them around this way too,
Yeah.
but a lot of people they said we could get out
Yeah,
the South.
migrated. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And had those Black towns out there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So there is a wonderful Black graduate, student, and faculty presence there.
Okay,
And
Feel right at home.
became a member of Lincoln Alumni.
Okay, very good, very
Chapter
good.
of Delta Sigma
No
Theta
doubt about
Sorority
it. I
Incorporated.
bet there was some coppers out there somewhere around too.
There absolutely was, and that is actually the first time I saw IOTAs, because I had not been on a
Okay.
campus where
I
IOTAs
still
were.
never been IOTA, but I mean,
Yeah, they were
they
in
were
the
there.
Midwest. They're more,
Oh, okay,
more
gotcha.
prominent.
Okay.
In some of those
No
other
doubt.
states. So, but there are some here as well.
Right, and so you are of course a member of the Metropolitan
chapter.
Alumni Chapter
Yes, sir.
of Delta Sigma Theta, and
Our
so
president is Vicki Williams Wiley.
there's no doubt about it. I've been knowing Miss Vicky for a minute or two, and she's been on it. Matter of fact, I remember when the chapter was first organized. Come to think of
Do
it,
you?
Yeah, I surely do.
Oh wow,
That's
okay.
right. So I go back.
Come on now.
Yeah, so we got history.
Yeah, all right now.
No doubt. And she's been doing a great job ever since. And she was pivotal in terms of getting it started. And they've been doing great things all
Very
this
proud
time.
of C-Mac.
Exactly, no doubt. And so I'm delighted that you are linked up and you provide the type of leadership, because I participate in a number of your events at the library and other situations. And so I know that you all are very active, and because Delta's everywhere very active.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
we're definitely social action.
no doubt. And that's not to say, others are not, but Delta's for sure have been a part of that. Now, of course, somewhere along the line in some of your discussions, I guess in the sorority meeting or somewhere, something idea came up, I guess, part of one of your mandates perhaps, or something like that, that, hey, we need to do something about what's going on with our families, with our children.
Yes.
And so how did that kind of emerge up until this event that we call the Youth and Trauma event? And of course, I guess more especially referred to as the invisible wounds of youth when trauma lingers.
Absolutely.
And we're going to talk about how invisible are those wounds.
Sometimes they're a little bit more visible, huh?
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, we're going to talk
They're
about
not feeling invisible right about now.
right about now, they're very visible. I tell you, no doubt about it. So how did that come about? You decided that you want to do an event like this, and who is it for?
You're absolutely right about, so our strategic plan, our national strategic plan, does include us ensuring that we are adequately impacting our communities, particularly with regard to our Black youth and families. And
Right.
so May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
That's right.
And we know that our young people have particularly been struggling. COVID just amplified the difficulties that our young people were experiencing.
Yeah.
We saw increases in domestic violence during COVID. We saw increases in suicide rates among young people. When you are already trapped,
Right.
and then you are further trapped.
Right.
So we know that the poverty rates, we know that violence, we know that lack. So we'll say that a lack of love, a lack of resources, a lack of employment opportunities, a lack of education, just set a nice environment for some adverse experiences, that are affecting our young people. And out of that is born trauma. And we know it starts in the womb. We are made of cells, and cells are porous. And so things come in and things go out.
And as part of that, we just with our prelude, just kind of giving people the background history that we call it generational trauma.
Absolutely.
That many times, we don't realize that basically our DNA is a recorder of traumatic experiences.
Absolutely. On a cellular level.
On a cellular level.
Yes.
Exactly. Because they do say all it takes is a cell, and you can reproduce the whole person.
So imagine if your cells are encoded with trauma responses.
That part. And the other part of it is that the healing, we have not, and I say this many times, and those of us who, I'm more or less one of those, psycho-historians, whereby we're looking at historically, what we went through Okay, then we just went out into the world and started reconstructing the life, but we still did not have, I guess that effort was the healing, because we did not have a chance to pause and say, let us process this and this, that, and other. We with our faith, and at that time we still had a very strong looking spirit from our ancestors that kind of gave us a kind of a cultural underpinning that we carried particularly about loving each other and cared about each other, because there are people who after the slavery era were looking for people they had lost 10 or 15 years. They were trying to find. They were trying to keep up with him. With plantation. It kind of reminds me in a way. I go into the prisons, and many times guys, they talk about the different prisons they were at and who they met. In other words, it was like, okay, well, did you see so and so? I think the plantation system was sort of like that too, in terms of the trauma of taking away. First of all, breaking up the mother-father relationship. That basically was that was traumatizing for both for the male and the female. Then the children coming out of that. So I mean, we got to be we are divine people to be able to still be here and to talk about it, and also to be able to make plans about we're going to get this healing process. Regardless of the circumstances, we're going to be doing something about it.
Because we're a resilient people, right?
That's right.
So you can do all kinds of things to us,
right?
And we will recover, we will come back, but we will be forever changed.
Right, exactly.
And so what we're trying to do to kind of bring it back to the program is, one, to help people understand what trauma is.
Right.
And I think a lot of times we are sometimes dismissive of our young people. We minimize their experiences.
And the reason being because we're traumatized ourselves.
We are. And so we're acting out of our own trauma.
Right. And we don't want to relive it. So, that's along that line, because I'm making a point. This is so very important. And this cannot be the first one. The last one. In other words, this is the beginning. And that's and we're building our whole movement of the coalition around the fact that we have been traumatized. Absolutely. And that we have to come together as a community and to recognize and accept it, and then start rebuilding our lives in a therapeutic way so that we can start reducing the impact of the self-trauma. I mean, at some point, it's one thing to have external, but then when you have internalized trauma that we're not reducing.
We're not healing. So of course, I'm teaching you trauma-based responses because that's all I have to offer you. I don't have any. We often take things away from people and then we don't give them anything to replace.
And many times our parents, they knew they were traumatized, but the children, they don't know what the parents went through, and so the parents are doing things. And they're traumatized, but they don't even know.
They're acting out of trauma.
Yeah, right? They don't even know why their parents are doing what they're doing. They don't. So therefore, we're in a relationship. So therefore, I'm mad at you because you're not respecting me. You mad at me because I'm not protecting you. And we don't understand that. Wait a minute, there's a system here that we both are victims of, but we're so drowned in our trauma that we reach out and hurt the people that are close and dear to us. Absolutely. So how's this program going to run? Who do you expect to do what and why?
Got you. So in addition to the Columbus Metropolitan Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, our partners are Helping Families First, which you just heard Ms. Mahone talk a little bit about, and the National Alliance for Mental Illness. And we are really trying to also connect people with resources in the community.
That's right.
And so we also have Men of Valor Move, who will be one of our resources. We have Girls Inc., who will be one of our resources. We have Boys to Men Development Incorporated that will be there. We have coming out of Morehouse School of Medicine, Opioid Awareness Initiative.
Our coalition partner, your New Era Coalition Partners.
Absolutely is there. And we are having also My Elbow, which is out of Alabama, and they are a soul care organization. So they're focused on holistic healing and trauma in ministry.
Beautiful.
So we have a variety of resources who are going to be there in addition to our community partners. And then we have licensed mental health providers
Right.
who are going to be facilitating our workshops. Dr. Brett Murphy Dawson is one of our keynote facilitators. She is an African-American psychiatrist. We think it's important for brown and black people to see folks that look like them doing this healing work.
Always.
And so I think sometimes, particularly when people are mandated to go into treatment, they have a negative experience about what mental wellness looks like.
No doubt.
And so we want people to know that mental wellness is not just about you being told you didn't get something right, about a punishment.
Right.
It is about you being made whole
Right,
again and
right.
being an integrated person who is healed and can be in those loving relationships
Right.
that we talked about, and who can parent our children and who can work through conflict without it resorting to any kind of violence.
Exactly.
And so we have our workshops broken out. So our keynote presenter is going to do the first component of the workshop, and she is going to address families and youth. She's going to talk about trauma. She's going to talk about adverse childhood experiences. She's going to talk about some of the ways that trauma shows up that we may not be aware of, and also how it may be appearing in our young people, and we think it's just them having an attitude and them being hormonal,
Right. Sure.
them being rebellious, them being dramatic, them not.
Some people do want to suggest that they might be born criminals.
Yeah, that they might, that they are defective, that they are deficient, that they are derelict. And so helping people to understand that, of course, our primary goal is prevention. That's our first line of defense. If we can get you to a point where you're not experiencing trauma, but after that, early intervention. So the sooner we can catch for people, hey, this is what's going on, we can identify it, then we can get some interventions in place.
And the other thing about it is that everybody, I mean, as you know, and I know, let's say, for example, there are, we say 100 mental health professionals, licensed, certified, trained, otherwise, in this community. But you got 200,000 or 300,000 people that need services, one variety or other. So the point I'm making is that, so therefore, we're trying to use these programs that we're doing now, part of the coalition, to say, look, these are some things. Because we gotta start having some self referrals, because I don't know about you, but a lot of my referrals come because they got arrested, they got caught up, got mandated. I'm trying to say, wait, I mean, you can't do that. You already know, and when they get there, it started 6 months or started a few years. Yeah, we got to develop a culture of early warning system.
And that's that prevention piece.
Exactly.
And that's why it's so important to expose our young people to mental wellness. We are unfortunately a pathology-based society.
That's right.
And so we look at illness. We don't look at wellness.
Right.
And so one of the ways that we have to reconstruct ourselves in order for us to be able to prevent trauma or to intervene early is to be able to help people understand that wellness is an objective.
Right.
We're so used to suffering. Unfortunately, a lot of us have that suffering mentality. And so so there's chaos at home. That's where I grew up. That's what I'm used to. I don't realize that, I don't have to be in a chaotic environment. And that means I may have to make some significant changes. That means
and how do I do that?
Absolutely. That means as a young person, I have to identify who's safe spaces, right? And so exposure to providers. So one of the things that is also coming out of this program is that we have resources for people to be able to identify here are providers. And you're right, there is always going to be more people that need mental health providers than mental health providers in any given city. However, you're not just limited to this city.
Right.
So one of the things that did happen, one of the positive things that happened during the pandemic is we got to a point where we could also do video appointments. So one, that makes it easier for people, especially people that are trying to work and they only have a 30-minute lunch. You have 30 minutes. I can get your 30-minute lunch. You can eat your lunch while you're doing a therapy appointment. We can make this thing work. Right. So we're giving people more access. So even if you don't have a provider close to you or a provider that's close to you that you would want to see, because
Right,
I do
right.
recognize the importance of
Right.
culturally responsive and appropriate
Right,
care.
right.
And so ensuring that people get to the right provider, because that makes a difference. So many
Right.
people have an experience and it's a negative experience and they never go back.
Right.
So we
right.
want to make sure that people understand, one, you have options. And I
Mhm.
know that for some people, they don't have insurance. We have providers that will see you if you don't have
Right,
insurance.
right, right.
I know that there are some people who have limited insurance.
That's right.
There are providers that can see you with that limited insurance.
Right.
There are organizations that can help you with your copays. So we
Mhm.
have a lot of resources that are available
Right.
to us. But one of our jobs is to be able to understand what the barriers are to people accessing services.
Right. You know, one of the things that you mentioned earlier about the group that you said, I think Elbow or something.
Yeah. mhm.
And what did you say they do again?
So this is a soul care group. So
Right,
they
uh-huh.
look at the intersection between our spiritual health and
Right.
trauma.
Right. Now that part.
Finding my elbow.
Right, and that's the part that, of course, you know, I do a piece with a lot of people, you know, on sacred teachings of divine femininity, sacred
Mhm.
teachings of divine masculinity, and one of the things that I'm big on, of course, which is my domain, that is transformation of not individual, but transformation of culture
Mhm.
and communities. And what that means, of course, is that we're going to, you know, for example, that was a time when babies were born by the Native people, what they call the ladies that come in and
Oh, like a doula?
like the doulas,
Mhm.
right? So we got to have some mental health doulas.
Mhm.
In other words, we got to have people that are closer
Mhm.
than the institutional dynamic. Now, of course, that means that those that they can't help have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
You follow me? So therefore, we are trying to get, is the coalition, we're trying to get more, so to speak, paraprofessionals
Mhm.
out there that can do some mending, can do some identification, can help them with the referral to get them better services
Yeah,
and more
absolutely.
services. So that's how we are blending together
Okay.
in terms of what we're doing. Okay, Nick, take a break here. Go take a little break here and come back with more discussions with our guest today, Ms. Mary Mahone and Dr. Dolores Tarver. And we're talking about the invisible wounds of youth when trauma lingers. Right here, Vision Now, your supper club. We still the one that love you the best, and ain't a doggone thing you can do about that either.
Tri-City, Crew Lounge Columbus is giving you After Dark Thursdays with their R&B experience. Come out and catch this vibe. It will liven up your week. Crew Lounge Columbus, 1010 Broadway. Never a cover charge. Must be 21 with proper ID. Reserve your free table at Resi/Crew Columbus.
WLTC HD2 Casita, W221DP Columbus, 92.1 Smooth R&B.
Suicide can affect anyone, devastating families and communities, but it's not inevitable. If you're feeling alone, having thoughts of suicide, or know someone who is, don't remain silent. Help is available. You can talk to someone you trust by calling 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. The MyGCAL app can be used if you need help by text or chat. Visit 988.ga.org for more information. A message from the Georgia Hospital Association.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome, and each person's recovery depends on the facts and laws in each client's case.
You know how people say my dog don't bite? Well, my dog bites. He ain't no lap dog. He a tack dog. His name is Top Dog. Top Dog Law. Insurance companies scared of him, especially when he's not on that leash. He's vicious, and his bites hurt. Can't control him. He will bite you. Get into an accident. You don't want no cat on your case. You want a dog, a vicious one. One of them dogs that's gonna bite till they get $1 million. One of them dogs that's gonna set you up for life. Top Dog Law. That's who you call. Nobody else. I'm telling you, that's who you call. Want that top dollar? Want that big money? Want that big check? It's Top Dog Law. Follow on IG at Top Dog Law. It's TopDogLaw.com.
Riding season is in full throttle at Rally Point Harley-Davidson. Check this out. Starting this Sunday, we're open 7 days a week. I'm going to say it again. Starting this Sunday, we're open 7 days a week. So join us this Sunday, May 5th, for our Cinco de Mayo fiesta. Come enjoy tacos and Mexican treats and drinks, plus chances to win prizes with scratch-offs and games. It's all this Sunday, May 5th, from 11 to 2 at Rally Point Harley-Davidson in Columbus, Georgia. Now open 7 days a week.
Welcome back to Visions Now, your supper club, and I hope that you enjoying the dessert and the main menu and all of that. Miss Mary Mahone, would you just reiterate how they can reach you as a part of the Family Preservation Ministry, and that if they have concerns or issues or questions, and that we are available to be there for them to kind of fill in the gap.
Okay. Yes. Again, I'm with Helping Family Initiatives, and I am over in Russell County. And Helping Family Initiatives works to enforce the Alabama compulsory attendance laws. So you can contact me at 334-384-9700. And that's over in the Russell County Judicial Center. And you can just ask for Mary Mahone, Helping Family Initiatives.
Okay. And before we go, why don't you give them the kind of who, what, when, where, and why, and what they're going to get for coming.
Absolutely. Because we do like gifts, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We like gifts.
All right. So the name of the program, again, is the Invisible Wounds of Youth When Trauma Lingers. It will occur Saturday, May 11th from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., and that is Eastern Time. It is going to be at South Girard School, 521 Fontaine Road. It is for youth who are in grades 6 through 8th and 9th through 12th. So our middle schoolers and our high schoolers, and go ahead and bring that rising middle schooler. So if you have a young one that's in 5th grade, go ahead and bring them. There'll be a rising 6th grader. It will be appropriate for them as well. Also for parents, caregivers, those adults who are taking care of youth or who have youth in your families in those age ranges, or if you just like to learn more about trauma and how trauma affects our young people, this event is appropriate for you. We are going to have gift bags for everyone and some special giveaways. This event is free, and we are providing lunch.
And do they need to contact you just in case they missed it or they want some other details about you or your service that you have to offer? What number should they reach you at?
They can reach me at 706
653
6841. And my direct extension is 315.
And her direct extension is 315.
Yes, sir.
All right. And I just want to say this. One of the goals of the Family Preservation Ministry is we want at least one family behavior aid in every church in this town, in this bi-city. At least one person who can alert the mental health community of the needs of someone in their church. So every church should have somebody that they can say, well, call Sister so-and-so. So just like, well, Sister so-and-so, she know how to deliver babies. You know, when you call her and find out about the doula service, well, we want them to say, Sister so-and-so, no, you having a problem with your child, or y'all can't get along. Hey, call Sister so-and-so or brother so-and-so. They're our faith-based family behavior aid at the church. Okay, so that's one of the goals that we're trying to do, to take release, so that the cases that the professionals get are really those that need the profession, those services, but those cases that we can prevent and intervene. But we know the crisis. You know, we don't want you trying to fix no crisis now. You know, to call 911, call Dr. Tara, you know, that type of thing. And of course, once you go through that you know, if you're in a relationship type trauma, then y'all know how to reach Project Rebound. All y'all, most y'all know 706-221-4830. We got you, no doubt about it. But you won't hear what you want to hear, but surely we hear what you need to hear, and that's how we do it. Okay, so again, I had some other questions about, for example, what does cultural trauma look like? What does political trauma look like? What does economic trauma look like? You know, how is it that the community trauma in the family environment and the personal traits and parents, how does that impact? By the way, what is a tip for those who are listening? Give us 2 or 3 tips just off the rip that you think that that just a parent should know, or just a responsible individual should know about the issue of trauma in a preventive or in an interventive manner?
Intervention way.
What would that look like?
Wow, just a few tips. Okay. So one, I think it's important to know what your resources are before you need them.
Okay.
So
And call, don't forget the New Era Coalition. That's probably the quickest way to get to the resources.
Absolutely. As a part of this event, I will have a list of mental health providers. It's always very important, I think, for any family to have a list of mental health providers.
That's right.
Because when something happens, you don't want to be scrambling around trying to figure out who you can see or who your child can see, because there is going to be something that's going to happen in your family.
Oh, there's something happening right now.
Mama say, just keep living.
That's right. Exactly.
So want to make sure that you have that. So I would definitely say always have a list of mental health providers. Know your insurance information. These are questions that people are going to ask you, not because that is going to stop you from getting services, but so we can funnel you to where you need to go quickly. It's just important for you to have some basic understanding of if your child has benefits, if they don't have benefits. That's important. I will tell any parent, you need to be going through your child's phone. So don't ever think that your child has the intellectual capability and maturity to be able to just roam on a phone, roam on the internet, roam on a computer without your supervision. So they don't like it when you go through their phones. But I need for you to understand that it is important for you to know who your children are talking to, talking with, and what they are talking about.
And I would take a little bit further. There need to be timeouts on phone. There should be periods of time, no phone. I mean,
like, absolutely. They need to be put away.
A curfew on phone.
Absolutely.
You know, and also, what about parents? What about self-check? Give me one thing that parents could say to themselves in the mirror. Hey, maybe I need to call somebody.
Most of the time, we're going to notice physical things first. We're not going to notice the emotional and the mental health things. So parents, if you're not sleeping, if you've gained a significant amount of weight or lost a significant amount of weight, you're losing your hair, you got tension in your neck, back, shoulders, and stomach.
You're gambling too much. You're drinking too much.
Shopping.
You're drinking too much drugs. You're drinking too much alcohol, eating too much, not getting no exercise.
Right. Behaviorally, when you are not your best self, that is usually an indication that you're not okay.
Okay.
So once you realize that you're not okay, that's when you need to go ahead and give me a call.
Okay. Well, again, whoop, it's that time. Time for the party to start. Well, supper time is over for today. We're going to close up the village. Thank you for listening. Invite your friends to join in our weekly meal, supper time. Let's build that spirit of Harambee. Organize, organize, organize. Educate, educate, educate. Pamoja, Tutashinda, Uhuru Sasa, Watu Wazuri. Peace, soul, love, with a little sprinkle of power. Good night.